What happens when Hollywood's golden boy turns his back on friends, rivals, and even lovers to protect his throne? From broken bonds to ruthless power moves, Leonardo DiCaprio's rise wasn't built on charm alone. It was carved through feuds, betrayals, and revenge. But how many enemies can one man make before the past comes crashing back? Before we dive deeper into the story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell because you won't want to miss the next twist in this ongoing celebrity drama. Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't always Hollywood royalty. In his early days, many doubted he would last, including Matt Damon, who once remarked that the young actor wouldn't survive a decade in the industry. But not only did DiCaprio survive, he dominated. He climbed higher than almost anyone else of his generation, and along the way, he left a trail of broken friendships, bitter rivals, and enemies who underestimated how far he would go to protect his image. One of the most shocking betrayals came not from a rival, but from a friend. Tobey Maguire, once DiCaprio's closest ally, became a target after a small casual film project called Don's Plum spiraled into a battle that destroyed their relationship. The project was meant to be nothing more than a short improvisational experiment, something lighthearted between friends. But when producers decided to expand it into a feature-length film, DiCaprio felt ambushed. He had only agreed to 2 nights of improvisation, never a commercial release that could haunt him forever. Maguire's concerns were different, but no less intense. His improvised scenes included deeply personal admissions that he feared could ruin his reputation if released to the public. Both actors suddenly found themselves in a trap of their own making, and the fury that erupted would end their bond for good. Maguire's team even accused DiCaprio's producers of planning to weaponize the press, using leaks to outlets like Variety as warnings. The trust was shattered, and what had once been a brotherly friendship dissolved into hostility. Can the closest bonds in Hollywood ever survive when ambition and reputation are at stake? The fallout from Don's Plum was ruthless. At a dinner hosted by Kevin Connolly, what was expected to be a friendly gathering turned into a verbal ambush. Maguire erupted in fury, shouting that he wanted the film destroyed. Witnesses described his rage as frightening, with veins bulging as he screamed for the project to burn. DiCaprio, more controlled but no less dangerous, delivered a chilling response. He allegedly warned that his agents controlled Sundance and Miramax, and that Don's Plum would never see daylight. It wasn't just an empty threat. The movie was swiftly blacklisted from Sundance. Miramax, which had been eager to distribute, suddenly vanished. Other studios quickly backed away. DiCaprio and Maguire had closed ranks, ensuring the film was buried. Lawsuits followed, with producers suing for millions. But in the end, a settlement ensured that Don's Plum could only be released outside the US and Canada. Careers were shattered, friendships obliterated, but DiCaprio walked away untouched. By the time Titanic turned him into the world's biggest star, the scandal was already fading from memory. This wasn't the first time DiCaprio's grudges shaped careers. Back in 1994, Mark Wahlberg was fighting to shed his Marky Mark persona and prove himself as a serious actor. The Basketball Diaries offered him the perfect chance. Yet one obstacle stood in his way: Leonardo DiCaprio. Months earlier, during an MTV charity basketball game, Wahlberg had blocked one of Leo's shots and taunted him publicly. To most, it was harmless trash talk. To DiCaprio, it was an insult that would not be forgotten. When Wahlberg's name came up for the role of Mickey, DiCaprio's reaction was swift. He demanded Wahlberg not be cast. Casting director Amy Kaufman was trapped between 2 forces: the perfect fit for the role versus the rising star who could tank the project. Reluctantly, DiCaprio agreed to at least audition with Wahlberg. What happened next was unexpected. Their audition was electric. The animosity between them turned into raw on-screen tension, convincing everyone that Wahlberg was right for the part. He was cast, but DiCaprio's forgiveness was limited. On set, Leo remained distant, never allowing genuine friendship to grow. Years later, when they reunited in The Departed, the tension still lingered beneath the surface. Was this newfound friendship genuine, or just another case of Leo keeping his enemies close for convenience? The cold truth was that DiCaprio never forgot the slight. He allowed Wahlberg into his orbit only when it served him. That same ruthless selectiveness would define many of his professional relationships. Even those who seemed like allies could be discarded if they posed a threat. Claire Danes experienced this in a different way during the making of Romeo and Juliet. At just 17, she landed the coveted role of Juliet opposite DiCaprio's Romeo. At first, Leo praised her talent, but their relationship soured almost instantly. Reports from set described Danes finding DiCaprio immature, while he considered her uptight. His pranks annoyed her. Her seriousness irritated him. Despite their on-screen chemistry, they barely spoke when cameras weren't rolling. Danes even admitted later that she developed a crush on him, but the feeling wasn't mutual. The tension between them bled into their performances, forcing director Baz Luhrmann to push harder for the passion Shakespeare's tale demanded. When filming wrapped, Danes was offered the role of Rose in Titanic, but she turned it down, weary of repeating the same dynamic with DiCaprio. That decision shaped history. Kate Winslet took the role, and her genuine connection with DiCaprio became one of Hollywood's most beloved partnerships. Could Danes have been part of Titanic's legend if not for the friction with her co-star? The rivalries didn't stop there. Even established stars weren't safe. George Clooney, decades older and already respected, crossed paths with DiCaprio on a basketball court in Mexico. What should have been a friendly game turned into an infamous humiliation. Clooney and his crew crushed DiCaprio's team in 3 straight games, each ending 11-0. Clooney later mocked DiCaprio, suggesting he was surrounded by sycophants who inflated his ego. For someone who built his career on being untouchable, the embarrassment cut deep. Unlike younger actors he could blacklist, DiCaprio couldn't retaliate against Clooney. The older star was too entrenched, too respected. The result was years of quiet distance. They attended the same events but never worked together, their rivalry frozen in polite hostility. What wounds cut deeper, public humiliation or private betrayal by those closest to you? Another rivalry defined much of DiCaprio's career: Christian Bale. The two were often up for the same roles, but DiCaprio's influence ensured he usually came out on top. Bale lost roles in This Boy's Life, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and even Romeo and Juliet. Insiders whispered that Leo specifically blocked Bale from joining projects he controlled. When Bale finally secured American Psycho, a role DiCaprio had once been linked to, Leo allegedly used his sway to minimize studio support. Bale's brilliance eventually won him acclaim, but the rivalry left scars. Jack Black also learned the danger of crossing DiCaprio. After Leo's long-awaited Oscar win for The Revenant, Black publicly remarked that Bryan Cranston's performance in Trumbo was more deserving. It may have been an honest opinion, but in Hollywood, words carry consequences. Suddenly, Black's opportunities in major films dwindled. Few doubted that DiCaprio's quiet influence played a role in freezing him out. Is DiCaprio's power built only on talent or on the silencing of those who dare to question him? What emerges from these stories is a pattern. Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't fight his battles in the open. He doesn't launch public tirades or wage Twitter feuds. Instead, he works quietly, pulling strings behind the scenes. Rivals find projects slipping away, distributors backing out, and opportunities drying up. Friends who cross him vanish from his circle, while allies remain only as long as they serve a purpose. This strategy has made him untouchable, but it has also left scars across Hollywood. Former friends like Tobey Maguire turned into enemies. Rivals like Wahlberg and Bale felt the sting of his influence. Even powerful veterans like Clooney carried grudges that lasted decades. And yet, through it all, DiCaprio's career has only grown stronger. He has mastered not only acting, but the art of survival in an industry where one wrong move can end everything. But with every enemy silenced, every friendship broken, and every rival crushed, one question lingers: how long can anyone hold on to power built on so much destruction?